Laiba, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you repeat something?
How's the sound? This sounds good. Liba, can you hear us? Just checking.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. We can hear you. You're a bit quiet. But it should be okay. Maybe we...
Audible? Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. Thank you. Yes. Can you hear us now? Liba? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Great. We can hear you really clearly as well. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the SHDM and this side event convened by the human rights movement Bir Duino Kyrgyzstan, entitled From Vulnerability to Resilience, How to Protect Civil Society Space in the Digital Age and Preserve Community Voices. I'll give you a little bit of information about the event in a few moments, but first I'd like to hand the floor directly to Ms. Juvonen, who is the Special Representative of the OSCE Chairperson-in-Office on Civil Society. Please.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you very much for inviting me to address this very important topic. And I want to wholeheartedly thank Bir Duino Kyrgyzstan and Labour Rights Monitoring Mission and the human rights organization Gardner for inviting me. Digital safety is a central pillar of both national and international security. At its core, digital safety is about ensuring that digital technologies support freedom of expression, protect privacy, and safeguard democratic integrity. We are increasingly witnessing closing civic space also in the OSCE region. The figures are alarming. So it is so very important that the OSCE participating states and OSCE build a secure and rights-based digital environment. And such an environment must protect people, foster trust, and strengthen democratic institutions. We also see increasingly that the governments are using spyware, artificial intelligence, data analytics, large-scale biometric technologies to monitor journalists, human rights defenders, and marginalized communities. And these effects have a chilling impact on free expression, peaceful assembly, and civic participation. And it is very gendered in nature. The malicious online harassment is particularly severe for women who are frequently subjected to gendered digital attacks designed to intimidate them and force them out of public life. This is unacceptable. Human rights defenders, LGBTIQ+ groups, independent media, minority representatives, political opposition groups are often among the key targets for such malicious practices. Surveillance tools introduced in the name of fighting crime or protecting national security are increasingly purposed to monitor opposition voices and restrict civic freedoms. These effects for democracy are fundamental in nature. This fuels fear and self-censorship, undermines trust, weakens civic engagement, and restricts the right of assembly and association. So what civil society is calling is for stronger safeguards and urgent action, stricter regulation of surveillance technologies, bans on biometric surveillance, and robust judicial authorization and oversight for any surveillance measures. Thus, we need more effective oversight. Participating states and OSCE, they must ensure a safe, protected, enabling online-offline environment for all of us, human rights defenders, trade unions, journalists, and all democratic actors. And this is what I was saying yesterday at an evening event I took part, as well as during the lunch. It is so very crucial to stand firm and confidently on the Helsinki principles, fulfilling OSCE commitments, protecting human rights and the rule of law, and building resilient democratic societies across the region to secure digital rights-based digital environmental world. There would be backlashes, but if we don't do it, if the participating states won't do it, if the OSCE doesn't do it, if there's any compromises on human rights, rule of law, and democracy, it's a slippery slope. That's not an answer. So I really keep on calling on firm standing on these commitments and principles. So I'm looking forward to the conversation and the discussion and hearing the experts. And thank you again for inviting me to have these welcoming remarks. Thanks.
Thank you, Anu, for those inspiring words. I'll say a few words now to introduce this event and explain the aims, which are to comprehensively understand the transformation of civic space in the context of digitalization, where technology simultaneously acts as a tool both for expanding participation and as a mechanism for exerting, unfortunately, pressure, restricting rights, and exacerbating inequality. So we have a fantastic field of experts, as Anu said, and we will be able to share together with you a discussion which will explore how digital environments are reshaping civil society, but also human rights protection, labor rights, and the safety of human rights defenders across different regions, with particular attention to emerging risks such as surveillance, online harassment, hate speech, xenophobia, disinformation, and the increasing use of inverted commas security narratives to justify restrictions on freedom of association and expression. Thank you very much to all the organizers for inviting me to moderate your event. I'd like to go now directly to the first of our experts, who is Murat Karypov, who is Executive Director of Bir Duino Kyrgyzstan, and he is going to speak on the rise of pressure, hate speech, and xenophobia against human rights defenders in the digital sphere. Thank you, Murat.
Thank you. My name is Murat Karypov. I represent human rights organization Bir Duino Kyrgyzstan. First of all, I would like to kindly appreciate OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights for your inspiring words and for your support. And actually, I will try to be very brief. Nowadays, digital technologies and digital area, they create and provide really meaningful opportunities for communication, for participation and access to information. However, at the same time, digital platforms, they are increasingly being used as instruments of intimidation, harassment, stigmatization, and coordinated attacks against civil society activists, journalists, independent trade unions, and human rights defenders. It's important to highlight that this is not a challenge of one country or one specific region. It's a global tendency nowadays. Yesterday, actually, during the plenary session, during the plenary discussions, we highlighted that a lot of participants and speakers underlined their shrinking of civic space nowadays, including in digital environments. Concerns were raised regarding online hate campaigns, disinformation, digital surveillance, and the misuse of narratives related to foreign influence, extremism, and security in ways that negatively affect the work of the civil society organizations. Nowadays, we increasingly observe situations where human rights defenders become targets of coordinated online attacks and hate speech. We have been discrediting by our work regarding our work undermining public trust and creating fear. Women human rights defenders, especially, and the representatives of different minorities and local communities, especially migrants, labor activists, and independent journalists, are particularly vulnerable to online harassment, threats, and xenophobic rhetoric. So, actually, I would like, being very specific, I would like to highlight 5 specific recommendations for members of OSCE. And the first one is that's very important for states should ensure that legislation regarding the related to digital security, counter-extremism, and counter-terrorism, especially foreign influence, fully complies with international human rights standards and doesn't create disproportionate restrictions on civil society activities. The second recommendation for OSCE members and participating states should strengthen protection mechanisms for human rights defenders facing online threats, including rapid response mechanisms, access to digital security, support, and effective investigation of online harassment and hate campaigns. Third one, it's very important to invest in digital literacy, cybersecurity trainings, and resilience programs for civil society organizations, especially for grassroots groups, minorities, women activists, youth initiatives. For recommendation number 4, we strongly recommend OSCE institutions and participating states to support open dialogue with civil society and avoid stigmatizing rhetoric that may contribute to hostility and xenophobia. And the last one, our final recommendation of Bir Duino Kyrgyzstan, that international cooperation is very essential. Digital threats are transnational, and responses must also be based on solidarity, cooperation, and exchange of best practices between states, international organizations, technology experts, and civil society actors. So just finalizing my speech, I would like also to say that we believe that digital transformation should serve people, communities, and human dignity. Technologies should expand participation and exclusion, not reinforce fear, exclusion, or repression. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Murat. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions to you later regarding those recommendations. We have an online speaker now, Laiba. I hope you can still hear us. Laiba Shukat is a program coordinator at the Association of Women for Awareness and Motivation, Pakistan. And she is going to share with us country perspectives on shrinking space, digital repression, and the lived experiences of activists under increasing online and offline pressure. Laiba, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and greetings, everyone. And people giving me the opportunity to speak regarding the digital violence, especially against women human rights defenders, along with the country perspective. I want to begin with the story of a woman who is a human rights activist in Kazakhstan. And in 2025, her voice began to appear across different social media platforms, apologizing, clarifying, saying that she did not receive any foreign funds or disavowing the work that has defined her whole life, except she never really said it. What people heard was an artificial intelligence model trained to replicate her exact voice and her accent, and then weaponized to destroy her credibility. And this is what we mean by digital violence. This is not an isolated incident. It is a pattern, it is a system, and it is a global crisis. It is only one form of digital violence. And according to the UN and European Commission report, The Tipping Point, over 70% of the women human rights defenders have experienced digital violence, and 41% have experienced its offline harm due to the digital abuse. Today, my discussion is basically around the Article 12.2 of the UN Declaration on Human Rights Defenders, which obliges the states to protect the defenders against any kind of violence, threats, or retaliation in their course of work. This text was adopted in 1998, before the smartphones, before the social media, before AI voice voice cloning and deep fakes, but its obligations are not outdated. They are expansive and they cover the full spectrum of violence, including the digital violence as well. So the question before us, drawn directly from the country submissions from the third Human Rights Defenders Protection Index that Anara will share, is whether states are meeting this obligation or not. And the answer country by country was simply no. But before we turn into the country picture, we must understand that what is being documented, the lived realities of the digital violence against human rights defenders, is that AI has been weaponized and has changed the landscape of digital violence. And according to the report, 1 in 4 human rights defenders have surveyed, who were surveyed, have experienced the AI-assisted online violence. There are deep fakes, AI-generated intimate imagery, voice cloning used to spread disinformation. And we know that 70%, as reported, 70% were women. It attacks their credibility. It attacks their, they have, it has a certain, it is shareable, it is permanent, and it stays online. And also there is reports, it is reported that it is used as a surveillance weapon. Pegasus spyware, it is documented in 50 countries, and it gives the operator complete access to the target's mobile, its data, and its devices without even the target ever knowing. And it has been reported in Azerbaijan as well, where 48 journalists have been potentially selected for this targeting, including the women human rights defenders. And it creates a chilling effect not only on the freedom of expression, but also on the public participation, and it makes every communication a potential risk. Then it is also used against the women human rights defenders because it is disproportionately gendered. It weaponizes the female body, and as per the data, 27% of the respondents had targeted with unsolicited sexual abuse and advances, cyber flashing, and non-consensual sexting. 12% had intimate images shared without their consent, and 6% had been subjected to deep fakes of a sexual nature. And this permanent humiliation stays online, and it is searchable. And perhaps the most alarming is that in too many contexts, the state is not failing to protect the defenders from digital violence, but the state is a source of it. For instance, in Pakistan, the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act had been amended twice, in 2023 and in 2025, and it has criminalized vague categories as false information with penalties to imprisonment. And this law has been systematically weaponized against journalists, lawyers, and including women activists. And it is a recent case in 2026 where Pakistani court sentenced human rights activists to imprisonment for tweets that highlighted the human rights violations in Pakistan. And if you look upon the country picture that we receive from the country submissions, in Central Asia, surveillance has become an infrastructure. For instance, in Kazakhstan, the surveillance infrastructure CyberNetzer system has, digital supervision of citizens with mandatory biometric identifications without any mechanism to protect defenders from that same infrastructure. 16.3 million Kazakhstanis have been reported that their data has been stolen. With that, illegal device access has increased to 610%, and cyberbullying is criminalized, but the enforcement against state actors, it remains, it does not follow. Similar is the case in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, where the documents we document the threats and the cyberbullying, digital surveillance, but the pattern is inconsistent and the response is absent. In South Asia, law is weaponized against the human rights defenders. In East Europe and South Caucasus, like in Azerbaijan case, the state used commercial spyware. In Ukraine, although there are military ombudsmen, but it is not independent from the presidential office. In Armenia, it openly admits that the law enforcement agencies lack the capacity to investigate the digital crimes. In Belarus society, to document more than 2 sentences is to risk everything. And in Russia, there is reported, it is documented, the surveillance is documented, threat of arrest and intimidation for cooperating with the international mechanism. So digital violence has become a state policy. And in Southeast Asia and Africa, In Singapore and Zimbabwe, online harassment and intimidation are documented. The state institutions also exist, but the responses are inconsistent. So this highlights the 5 patterns that demand a response. The first is that digital violence is not replacing physical violence, but it is enabling it. The online to offline continuum is empirically confirmed, and it is increasing. Second pattern is that the gendered digital violence attacks both body and the voice simultaneously. These attacks are weaponized against female human rights defenders, especially in the patriarchal society. Third pattern is that the states are using the language of protection to build tools of repression, like cybersecurity laws or counter disinformation regulations. Fourth pattern is that there are, even when their law exists, they are not enforced to protect the defenders. And fifth, there is a technical incapacity of the state institutions. So I began this presentation with a story of a woman whose voice was stolen by the algorithm. And I will end this with a phrase from Kazakhstan that in English means digital scars. The permanent trace of public humiliation in the world where nothing is ever erased, of intimate images turning into weapons against the women and human rights defenders, and AI voices speaking words that we never really said and that are still searchable years later. So women human rights defenders basically carry these scars, the digital scars. They carry them while continuing to document the torture and human rights violations. And most common advice given to the women human rights defenders is to become invisible. But we are not here today to make the women human rights defenders invisible. We are here to make the digital violence against them visible, which is the very voices that our democracies need the most. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laiba, for those remarks. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to the chance to put some questions to you on that presentation at the end. We'll pass now to Anara Ibreva, who is Director of Public Association Dignity, the human rights organization Kasyet, Kazakhstan. And Anara will give us a presentation of the 3rd Human Rights Protection Index from 2025, which offers comparative data on risks, resilience factors, and also on protection mechanisms. Please.
Thank you very much. I hope all on Zoom can see our screen. Is it visible? No? So let me share with you some introduction, because we can enough time to talk for everything from our 3rd index of human rights defenders security and protection. My colleagues and we are developed a Human Rights Defenders Protection Index, which based on the UN Declaration on Human Rights Defenders in 2023. These were our NGO, Human Rights NGO, Public Association Dignity, from Kazakhstan, Spravedlivost, Justice from Kyrgyzstan, and one more, the Office for Civil Liberties from Tajikistan. As a result, the first index included 3 countries in 2023 and 16 countries in 2024 and 13 countries so far in 2025. This year, we plan to publish a full index tab for all countries. The 2025 index included Armenia, Ukraine, Zimbabwe, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, and Singapore. And we also expecting more during this year. The index structure includes 5 sections and 29 questions. At least 2 questions directly address digital threats. You have already heard from Laiba Shukat from Pakistan, who presented an overview of the impact of digital threats on women human rights defenders. For the 2nd year in a row, Armenia and Ukraine have ranked among the top countries with the best protection of human rights defenders, and I will silence about countries who or in not in the top. I'll start with positive examples. So here you can see the list of examples. So where, for example, Pakistan could be example in terms of national human rights institutions. Second, an example of the protection of human rights defenders from any entities is Armenia. Third, etc., etc. You can see and read it. So it's just 12 examples where indicator like 100, it's only 4 countries: Armenia, Ukraine, Pakistan, and Uzbekistan. Armenia and Ukraine by 9 times. As you can imagine, as you may have already realized, the situation in the index countries are very similar. In March 2026, we presented a roadmap for OSCE members states. And today we would like to provide for countries, I can say like Kanban map, maybe you know what does it mean, but the Kanban map include only timely actions. I don't want to repeat every recommendation and proposal because we already published it and share through member state. But every actions which we proposed already concern to protect human rights defenders in every single area, include online or digital. So here on the slide, you can see some negative examples and this only one country for only 1 month and only 1 year. It's Kazakhstan, because I can cover every topic concerned to my country, Kazakhstan. And of course, you can see some examples about journalists, about civil activists, public figures, labor union activists. You can see also human rights defenders and lawyers, human rights lawyers. And also you can see some examples with collective or group threats. And it's only digital area because every month we registered more than 70 or 80 different cases which concern to the threats and security of human rights defenders. Let me show you how our top, what kind of section our index include. First, for example, section 1, institutional framework. And there are only 2 points in Pakistan and in Armenia with 100%. Section 2 about threats to human rights defenders. And here also only 3 points with 100%. In the section 3, respect for the fundamental rights of human rights defenders, you can see more with green points, but also only in Armenia and Ukraine. Effective protection of human rights defenders by the state, you can see only 2 green points. Also include Armenia and Ukraine. And last one, preventive measures. You can see a little bit more, just 7 points in green color. But it also includes Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Armenia, and Ukraine. So here you can observe what kind of analysis, what kind of result after analysis and evaluation in geography of risk, instrument of state pressure, and severity of consequences. Next one, it's description and map. I think it's not so small because Russia is big. And what is the result? Result, our proposed Kanban map, which include 4 points or four main area: legal guarantees, technical support trainings, international cooperation and monitorings, and working with society in the high risk countries. I will not stop more, but in my presentation here, every part of this Kanban map include not only description, but also action, which we propose to the members state of OSCE. Thank you very much. Maybe we can continue our discussion about index and action later in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anara. Now we'll go further into the field of digital threats from perhaps a slightly more technical perspective with technical experts. We have Stanislav Zelenev, who is an IT expert, and will focus on digital security, but in particular examining technical vulnerabilities, surveillance technologies, and strategies for protecting activists in high-risk environments.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We are examining how digital environments reshape civil society. While technology expands public participation, it also provides mechanisms for surveillance and transnational repression too. Well, today I will focus on the actual export of Russian surveillance technologies and administrative practice to Central Asia and neighboring regions between 2022 and 2026, with a specific focus on recent developments on 2025 and 2026. The transformation of civic space in these regions is driven by the deployment of imported hardware, the integration of interstate databases, and joint security operations. This creates a high-risk environment where digital vulnerabilities lead to the physical prosecution of human rights defenders, journalists, and civil society activists. One of the pillars of digital transformation in the region is the integration of biometric and financial tracking. First, regarding physical movement, Russian developed facial recognition technology, by the way, of the Safe City project, is now active in urban surveillance projects in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. This allows for the automated identification of individuals in public spaces, significantly increases the risk for civil society actors. Second, we are seeing a rapid evolution in finance surveillance, particularly in Kyrgyzstan. Following the 2022 law on virtual assets, Kyrgyzstan emerged as a significant regional crypto hub. However, by the late 2025, this ecosystem was brought under centralized state control. New regulations introduced mandatory know-your transactions check and 5-year data storage requirement for all providers. Most critically, in December 2025, the Kyrgyzstan government appointed a single state mandated AML provider, anti-money laundering provider, RANEX, for all crypto operators in the country. This is no longer just a matter of regulatory compliance. It is a centralized infrastructure for permanent monitoring. It grants the state the technical capacity to trace, verify, and block transactions in real time for human rights defenders who rely on digital assets for security and cross-border support. This centralization creates a high-risk environment where their financial lifelines are fully transparent to the state. And finally, this is supported by network-level interception. Russian vendors like ProdPay continue to supply deep tech inspection equipment to Iran, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. while Kazakhstan maintains its SORM-based architecture. Together, these tools create a comprehensive system for tracking the movement of people, their digital profiling, and the flow of their assets. Beyond network infrastructure, we are observing a shift toward administrative and algorithmic control. First, in Central Asia, traditional social structures are being digitalized. In Uzbekistan, the digital Mahala project has moved neighborhood-level social monitoring into a centralized digital database. In Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, the mandatory integration of biometric IDs with urban safe city networks allow for the automated identification of individuals in public spaces. This effectively eliminates the anonymity required for independent civil society activists. Second, we are monitoring the tactical use of signal interference to suppress communication during civil unrest. In early 2026, this year, technical monitors recorded large-scale GPS jamming in urban centers, notably in Iran, specifically to disrupt satellite-based internet service like Starlink. This creates a communication vacuum when landline networks are already thwarted by the authorities. Technically, these operations utilize the same signal shielding principles as the permanent infrastructure used to protect government districts in Moscow, but they are now deployed as an active tool against protesters. Finally, the proliferation of state-controlled AI adds a new layer of risk. Governments are moving beyond simple data collection to automated profiling. Sovereign AI models are being trained to enforce state-approved narratives and automate the identification of unusual social connections or financial patterns. And this algorithmic surveillance allows for the mass processing of data to flag activists and their networks before they even engage in public action. The transition from human monitoring to AI-driven control is perhaps the most significant challenge for civil society resilience today. And to conclude, we offer 4 practical recommendations for the OSCE and its participating states aimed at moving from vulnerability to resilience. Nations. First, as we see, the rise of sovereign AI used to enforce state narratives. We assume the OSCE should support the development of open source decentralized AI models. AI must not become a state monopoly. It must remain a tool that serves civil society and human rights rather than a mechanism for automated censorship. Second, we assume that we should protect connectivity resilience as landline and mobile networks are increasingly compromised by DPI and GPS jamming. Such technologies like direct cell satellite connectivity become vital. The OSCE can recognize the right to access such independent infrastructure as a fundamental component of freedom of expression, especially in high-risk environments where national gateways are used for operation, such as in Iran and other countries of the region. Third, we must firmly oppose digital isolation. The trend toward national internets and whitelisting, as seen in Turkmenistan or Iranian models or in Russian models, is a direct threat to the global open internet. So OSCE countries challenge any security narrative used to justify these whitelists. They are designed to isolate citizens and expose anyone attempting to bypass state control. And finally, support technical silence. Allocate targeted resources to provide independent digital security audits and secure cloud infrastructure for civil society organizations operating in these high-risk environments. True resilience for civil society requires an internet that is open, centralized, and beyond the total control of any single state. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Stanislav. Now we're going to go on to a slightly different topic. We're going to look at the issue of digital threat and information control and the impact on workers' rights and trade union rights. We have 2 speakers who are going to focus on this subject. The first is Ivan Milik of the Labor Rights Monitoring Mission. Please.
Good morning. I'm coordinator of the Labor Rights Monitoring Mission, and the information about mission you can see on these leaflets.